Elijah was a prophet of God, a man chosen to deliver his messages. He lived in a time when many people had turned away from the true God, the creator of heaven and earth. They worshipped idols, false gods called Baal, believing these lifeless figures could bring them prosperity and protection. These idols were nothing but wood and stone, crafted by human hands, devoid of any real power or divinity. They had no power to help or save, no ability to hear prayers or perform miracles. Elijah, a man of rugged faith and unwavering conviction, challenged the people to reconsider their ways. He called them to return to the Lord, the one true God who had delivered their ancestors from slavery. He reminded them of God's love and power, his miracles and promises, urging them to abandon their false beliefs. He warned them of the dire consequences of following false gods, of the emptiness and destruction that lay ahead. Elijah's message was not always popular, and many resisted his words, clinging to their familiar idols. He faced opposition and threats, hostility from those who felt threatened by his message, but he stood firm, his faith unshaken. Knowing that he was doing God's work, he knew that God was the one true God, the source of all life and truth. He was determined to prove it to the people, to show them the undeniable power and glory of the Lord. Mount Carmel was a high place. From its slopes you could see for miles around. It was here that Elijah challenged the prophets of Baal to a showdown. The people gathered, their hearts filled with curiosity and doubt. The stage was set. On one side stood Elijah, alone but confident in the Lord. On the other side were hundreds of prophets of Baal, their faces determined. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation. The fate of a nation hung in the balance.
How long will you waver between two opinions? How long will you stand on the fence, unsure of where your faith lies? If the Lord is God, follow him. Commit your heart and soul to him. But if Baal is God, follow him. Make your choice clear and unwavering.
The challenge was clear. The people were silent, their minds racing with the weight of the decision. Their eyes fixed on Elijah, the prophet who dared to confront their beliefs. He then turned to the prophets of Baal, the ones who claimed to hold the power of their God.
Choose one bull for yourselves. Select it carefully, for it will be the test of your God's power. Prepare it, but do not light the fire. Let your God prove himself by igniting it.
The prophets of Baal agreed. They prepared their altar, laid the wood meticulously, and placed the bull upon it with great care. Then they began to call on their God. They shouted and danced with fervor, hoping to invoke his power. They cut themselves with swords, a desperate act to gain their God's attention. They cried out from morning till noon, their voices growing hoarse with the effort. But there was no answer. The sky remained silent, devoid of any divine response. No fire came down from heaven. Their God did not answer, leaving them in a state of despair and confusion. Elijah's turn came. The moment everyone had been waiting for was finally here. He repaired the altar of the Lord that had been torn down. This was a significant act, symbolizing the restoration of true worship. He laid the wood, prepared the bull, and dug a trench around the altar. The preparations were meticulous, ensuring everything was in place. He then asked the people to help him drench the altar with water. This was an unusual request, meant to demonstrate the power of God. They did so, pouring water until it overflowed the trench. The altar was soaked, making it clear that no ordinary fire could ignite it.
O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel and that I am your servant. Show your power to these people. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back again. Let them see your glory.
Suddenly, the fire of the Lord fell. It was a sight to behold, a divine intervention that left no doubt. It consumed the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and even licked up the water in the trench. The people fell prostrate, overwhelmed by the undeniable power of God.
"The Lord, He is God!" they shouted in unison, their voices echoing through the valley.
The Lord, He is God. The declaration was clear, and the people were united in their worship.
Elijah's victory was complete. He had shown the people the difference between the true God and false idols. He had demonstrated the power of faith and the folly of idolatry. This was not a victory for Elijah. It was a victory for the Lord. It was a reminder that God is in control. He answers prayer. He deserves our worship. The story of Elijah is an inspiration to us today. It teaches us about the importance of standing firm in our faith. We live in a world that often seems to have forgotten God. We face pressure to compromise our beliefs. Like Elijah, we may face opposition and even persecution, but we must never forget who we are. We are children of God. He is with us always. Let us be as courageous as Elijah in sharing our faith. Let us be as confident in the power of prayer. Let us stand firm in our belief in the one true God.